we want to be a player and a business that, sustains for 100 years. And I think that's something very important.
We would like to know that, are there any particular new geographies, are there particular any new regions you are particularly very excited about? So we are hearing a lot from UAE.
So we didn't do a partnership with PlayStation, we had a partnership with CR7. So Ronaldo, okay. I think that might be Ronaldo's a big partner of PlayStation. Look, as a marketer, I see meme coins as like a powerful gateway to come into and get users to enter into this space. And it's a cultural zeitgeist. They're a direct reflection of community or internet memes, and it's about real-time relevance. Look, I think AI and crypto are incredibly complementary, and they're also solving very different problems. So when combined, I think that's really powerful because they can amplify the strengths of each other.
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Voice of Web3, where we make Web3 easy for you. So Bitcoin is at an all-time high, right? Trump is supporting Bitcoin, and so many amazing things happening in crypto world today, right? I mean, we can call this a golden era for crypto, but of course, there are many doubts, there are many questions, and there are many predictions right now. So we today have somebody with us who will help us to demystify these things for you. Okay, we have somebody really special guest for you today. And before I invite her, just a brief about her, because she has done so much in her life, and she's somebody who I personally admire, I look up to, and that's why I'm so excited to have her on our show. So today we have Rachel Conlan with us, CMO at Binance. She's somebody who has been working with so many amazing brands. She has worked with Budweiser, Coca-Cola, McLaren, Olympians, and in her past role, she was actually the global head for brand and partnership for OKX. So guys, join me and let's welcome Rachel to the screen. Hi Rachel, how are you?
Hi there, great to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I can't tell you how excited we are to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much. I just hope I live up to expectations.
Well, of course, when it comes to Binance, when it comes to particularly the platform, the updates, Binance is definitely there. We can talk for hours and hours about Binance, right?
Well, I definitely do. I talk for hours and hours about Binance. It's definitely a big part of my life. So, but we're very lucky that we also have a community that it's a big part of theirs too. So we're very grateful for that.
So Rachel, before I get to Binance or the ongoing updates, of course, as I said, crypto right now, this is the golden era for crypto, we can say, right? So many amazing things happening around the globe, so much clarity we are getting now, so much of adoption taking place. But before I begin, as I told my audience, I personally look up to you. A lot of Web2 people actually look up to you because you're somebody who had an amazing career, who has had an amazing career in Web2, then you transitioned to Web3. So I'm personally very excited to know more about your journey and why Web3. Why did you, gave up such an amazing career and move to Web3?
Well, look, I've been working for over 20 years. And while I definitely came into crypto a little unexpectedly, I was very much drawn by the pace, by the mission, the potential, and that sense of the industry still being built. I'm really lucky that in 20 years of working, I've always had the opportunity to work with really disruptive businesses or disruptive technologies. And that was something that was continuous through my nonlinear career, as some describe it. And, I think that the most compelling part about this industry was the fact that the rules are still being fully written. And, if you think about that, it's such an extraordinary moment that, we all, as industry players are getting to participate in, where an industry is being built from the ground up that's reshaping the idea of modern finance. And that's so exciting. And I feel like if we look back on our deathbed in whatever many years' time, it's going to be something that we appreciate. But, when I first joined Binance, I didn't come from a deep technical background, as you know. I'd always worked with technology companies or regulated industries, in my career at Havas, in my career at Creative Artist Agency. But arguably through that experience being in the agency world at the rise of social and digital marketing, and in sports at this rise of cultural marketing, you really learn what it is to embrace a builder's mindset. And you combine that with something that I feel very strongly about, which is storytelling, and being able to demystify what are complex concepts to many and make them relatable and relevant. And the combination of that with the experience that I had across a wide variety of sectors, from banking to beauty to sports, I think it was an interesting culmination of opportunities that brought me to here, and it has translated quite well, I think. I think it's something that I really enjoyed, taking the helm at Binance, and having to step into some very big shoes that our co-founder he had, and I'm lucky to still have her counsel and guidance. But no, it's extraordinary to be at the helm of Binance. And as you know, we just hit 275 million users late last week.
Yep.
And that's really a testament to the impact. It's still a long way to go to going mainstream, but it's really testament to the impact of the broader Binance team, and most importantly to our community that has helped us kind of really grow this industry from the ground up.
I mean, definitely. I mean, the last few months we have seen Binance hit tremendous targets, phenomenal growth, to be frank. I mean, we all are puzzled right now that how is Binance doing it? But kudos to you, your team, amazing work. I know I'm gonna just touch a bit sensitive topic, but I know we have to kind of touch it because we have so many questions around it. It was such a setback, when we heard about CZ, we were it was a shock for the industry, right? That how it came out and how actually the mainstream media actually printed it, right? I mean, but I would like to know from you that how since CZ's, since CZ the Binance is transitioning right now, how are things picking up there? Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, when CZ stepped down, it was a big moment for everyone, for Binance employees, for the community, for the broader industry at large. And I've had many conversations about it. As we all know, he's such a foundational figure, not just for Binance and what he's built over the last 8 years, but really for the whole industry. But what's been really powerful, seeing not how the leadership team has stepped up during this transition, not just to fill what is a huge gap, let's be honest, but to reshape how we operate for the long haul. And I do give kudos to CZ for understanding what the business needed and preparing for that moment. And I think that's something that is testament to the type of founder and leader he was, and how he set this business up for this next chapter of growth and of maturity. And I think under Richard Teng's leadership, while there has been a clear shift, there's definitely more discipline, and we're really double downing on how we build sustainably. We're still moving, maybe not as fast as they did in those first 5 years, because obviously it's a very different environment, and the impact of regulation has changed that. But with clear priorities and cross-functional alignment, and I think that every leader has played such an important role. And I would liken, CZ was our Steve Jobs, and now Richard is acting as that Tim Cook in terms of like building for that next chapter. And we're also putting like a really big focus on, building trust, not just with the community, but with the regulators, with partners, and ensuring that we're staying and we're conveying that we're doing it in the right way. And I think arguably what has never changed, and this goes back to how CZ and the broader founder base had positioned and built the foundations of the company at Binance, is the mission and our values. We still exist to make crypto accessible. We still exist to make it useful, to make it impactful. It's just the way we're delivering that is evolving. And ultimately, we're every day getting stronger and stronger, as we would have done with CZ at our helm, or now with Richard. And I would just really want to remind everyone that this new chapter isn't about replacing CZ. No one can replace CZ. He's irreplaceable. It's just about the leadership team and the broader base stepping up and shaping for what we know and what we believe and what we hear our users need.
I mean, I like the way you put it. CZ is Steve Jobs and Tim Cook. So I like the way you're putting it up, right? And I mean, we all miss the particular, if you remember, if you recall, CZ always came out with a tweet whenever there was a hack or some negative news, funds are safe. We all miss that. Of course, we all miss that, right? So, Rachel, moving on, I mean, there is a
He's still
trend we
here,
all are
though.
seeing
That's
now.
the good thing.
Sorry?
He's still here, though, for the industry. And like we see that. That's one thing that's phenomenal.
Yeah, the work that he's doing right now for the education of Web3, spreading awareness around it's amazing. I mean, we have personally used those products. The storytelling, I mean, it's just a good combination of marketing and storytelling, how Web3 should be actually taught.
Yeah. I would also argue that's really what the industry needs. Like him going in to educate governments and really support them as they try and understand how to build the frameworks and the infrastructure that's needed to support the growth of this industry. That's incredible work. And I think that's so important. And then you layer that on top of, his initiative Giggle Academy, which is about educating, young children. And my son is 4 years old. So I think that is such vocational, such formative work. So, while we're very sad not to have him day to day at Binance, we're very lucky to have, that brain power and that aptitude and that focus being, applied to all of these other wonderful parts of our industry and broader education system.
So, Rachel, moving on, I mean, we all are seeing a shift when it comes to now decentralized exchanges versus the centralized exchanges. I mean, recently we saw a report where actually it was mentioned that up to now 25% of the spot trading volume is now on DEX, right? So we know that Binance has always been at the forefront of the technology, at the forefront of, the changes that are taking place. So is there any particular new initiative around decentralized exchanges that Binance is coming up with?
So look, for us, it always comes back to what do our users need? That's what's driving our product and service optimization and innovation priorities. And whether it's spot trading or derivatives or DeFi or payments, it's like how we bridge the gap between those or bridge them together. So I think that debut of SEX to DEX is a perfect example. We're not here to draw the lines between centralized and decentralized. We're here to build experiences that give users and our traders or our hodlers more freedom, choice, and control. And if users want to move easily between platforms, that's what we want to be able to enable, to make possible. So look, spot and derivatives are core, but more and more users want, they want to do more than just trade. They want to earn, they want to pay, they want to move assets, and they want to engage with crypto in their daily lives. So while we are investing in DeFi integrations and payments infrastructure and cross-chain access, that's because that's what makes crypto more useful. So, I think one thing about Binance, and sometimes this frustrates the community, is we're not just tracing trends. We're really trying to design an ecosystem around real human needs and behavior and meet users where they are now or where we anticipate they may be and build the industry to that point. And I think that's something that we want to be a player and a business that, sustains for 100 years. And I think that's something very important.
Yeah. I mean, we all love, of course, we all use Binance on a day-to-day basis, and even the smaller side of the product, which is basically, let's say, even the Binance Square. As a content creator, for us, it's very important to understand, that how Binance as a market leader is actually trying to navigate these things, right? So, I mean, we love the product, of course, right? But there are some exciting, collaborations we heard recently. I would really like you to share your views on those as well. So there was a partnership I heard about with PlayStation, right?
So we didn't do a partnership with PlayStation. We had a partnership with CR7. So Ronaldo, I think that might be and obviously Ronaldo is a big partner of PlayStation.
So it was indirectly a kind of a collab.
Yeah. So look, we're always looking at new ways to partner with brands, and especially trusted brands, because I think, from our perspective, this industry still is in an early state of adoption. We're still only at like 700 million users. And while 1 in 3 may have a Binance account, we still need to educate and introduce our brand in interesting ways to the next generation of users. So for us, those partnerships, whether they be Web 2 or Web 3 and with big global brands or, hype local brands, they're about that moment for us to be able to build relevance and recognition with the new cohort of users and being introduced in a way, whether it be Ronaldo or Alpine, or whether it be Printemps in Paris, which is a retail partner we have. It's about it's about introducing the Binance brand in different and unique ways, and kind of beyond the functional, showing the emotional as well. So that's the biggest value of those partnerships, is really kind of where there's shared values or a shared story. It's like how you it goes back to storytelling. It's like how you bring that to life in a way that resonates for a broader audience beyond like our OGs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, Binance is definitely a global product. It has global outreach. There are people almost, I think, across wherever crypto is, wherever people know about Bitcoin, they are using Binance, no doubt about that. But we would like to know that, are there any particular new geographies, are there particular any new regions you are particularly very excited about? So we are hearing a lot from UAE.
I'm excited about so much. And I say that because, look, we're really lucky that we operate in over 100 markets. And on my team alone, I've got 236 on the team. They're 57 nationalities. And we like to think of ourselves as the world's largest local exchange. And what I am most excited by is, like, when we go into a new market, and I'm from Ireland, tiny little country. So I've always had my way of kind of expanding my horizons and truly understanding global is travel. And we have so many exciting markets that we're operating in the moment, or introducing ourselves in a meaningful way, and that gets me very excited. So obviously, there's huge adoption in Asia. We're seeing that continue to grow. In MENA, I'm based in Abu Dhabi, 1 in 4 own crypto, and it's becoming really, an integrated part of everyday life, which is so exciting. South Asia, that is such an exciting region. You have got like a huge population that are curious, they're young, they're tech forward, they're really trying to understand this space, and not just from a using perspective, but also from a building perspective. We're seeing such amazing innovations come out of there. Europe, where I'm from, I'm going to be honest, it's not as advanced. Like there's but largely, if you think about it, you've got a relatively, obviously volatility is something that we see in all modern societies at the moment. But the spate of use cases aren't as broad, but they're increasingly starting to become, and we're seeing the adoption, to start there. You've got the Americas, like there's too many countries to name, but what I think is really unique is the spate and the myriad of use cases. There's really a use case, and it goes back to crypto is so much more than just trading. It's really, about entrepreneurialism. It's about going far beyond that, and how we use crypto and broader blockchain to improve our fabric of our daily lives. And that's what really gets me really excited.
Right. So, Rachel, I mean, when you talk about Ireland, of course, we are hearing some Conor McGregor, I think, is doing a lot. He wants a Bitcoin reserve there. Every country now wants a Bitcoin reserve, right? More or less. Where we are originally from, of course, not many updates there. We are from India. So I don't think that...
First trip recently to New Delhi, and I'm looking forward. I think I'm going back next month. Very excited about getting to go back there. I need to go to Kerala, and I've been told as well. So
Kerala is beautiful. I mean, when it comes to as a tourist spot, I mean, India is an amazing place. Not though as crypto, I guess. I mean, CZ himself has sometimes, shown his, excitement for India, for Middle East, and we all are waiting that, okay, we will get some updates from Southeast Asian countries as well, because there are so many updates right now from America, from Europe, when it comes to Bitcoin reserve, when it comes to a Bitcoin strategic reserve strategies, right? So what are your thoughts around this? I mean, do you see this trend actually picking up in European and Asian countries as well in coming days?
Yeah, and look, I think, I spent 14 years in the US, and I think we can all agree that the pivot in administration and the recent climate and the change of climate in the US has had an unprecedented impact on the global regulatory landscape, and has put this incredible spotlight, whether you be Irish or, whether it be English or European or, Emirati or Indian. I think that everyone is sitting up, but you marry that then, not just the government interest, you marry that with the institutional interest.
Yep.
And we hear the likes of BlackRock and a Blackstone and a Goldman Sachs kind of revealing that they've got strategic reserves. or reserves on their P&Ls, which are or Bitcoin or whatever digital assets they've chosen to hold. So I think for me, and we know this, and from our discussions, in many of the countries that we're operating in, there is thoughtful approaches by many, administrations and governments happening at the local level about how they set up crypto and the blockchain industry in a responsible way that supports their users. And that's what we encourage. That's why, we don't want regulation for the sake of regulation. We want regulation so that we can support and continue to foster deeper connections with our users in an environment that's safe and trusted. And that's critical. So I think that we will see a lot more clarity, and we're 22 licenses and growing now globally. That's the most licenses of any of exchange. But the reason we don't have licenses in other countries is because there may not be a framework yet or clarity on that. So, we are waiting with excitement about what are, and we know to be the clarifications that are going to be introduced by some of those local markets around the world. And I think that's something very exciting and is only going to support the continued growth and encourage the growth of this industry.
So, Rachel, building on the same topic, we are hearing a lot that institutions, companies are now purchasing Bitcoin. They're putting it up on their balance sheet. Companies like Strategy, they're even buying Bitcoin on leverage. They're even buying Bitcoin on basically, loans, right? So
please don't do that if you're a retail user. That's not something we encourage.
I wanted to have your thoughts on this, that is it getting too institutionalized? Are we getting too ahead with the institutions playing this, and is retail being left behind in this race to Bitcoin?
No, I think that there's that's the beauty of this industry. We're predominantly a retail platform first and foremost. We definitely have institutional clients and users, but the beautiful thing about this industry, it's being built by retail users. Yeah. And I think the invitation of institutional, should be welcomed, because it's just growing the category and growing the industry. And then it's up to us as industry players and the builders and founders in this industry to continue to look at the use cases and how we make this industry, how we help ensure this industry and the technologies that are coming from it solve what are the issues and problems which people face with finance, which is what is, the original mission of this industry. So I think there's a role and a place for all of the different stakeholders. And I think that, at the moment, we're still so early in our growth. We're 725, we're with 300 million away from a billion, the industry hitting a billion. For Binance, we're 750 users. And that's when we're going to be mainstream. So I still think we're on a very exciting journey, and the more support and the more positive narratives and the more clarity and education on this space, the better it will be. That's why 70% of our efforts at Binance marketing are around education, whether it be Binance Academy, where you can go to start learning about this industry, or learn more complex details on the fundamentals of trading. It's really about how do we educate more users, and how do we raise awareness, how do we drive engagement, how do we help people start their journeys in this space to understand how they can interact and integrate with this.
So Rachel, we all, when it comes to entrepreneurship, Y Combinator is something everybody looks up to, right? That if I can get into Y Combinator, that means I built something amazing. The same is the case when it comes to Binance. If I can get my project listed on Binance, it's like a dream come true for any founder or any project who is coming up, right? And I'm sure many people who are listening to this podcast, they will be like, please give us some tips. They will be on top of their lungs, that give us tips how to get into Binance, right? And I'm seeing a lot of new initiatives as well. There is Binance Alpha, there is Binance Accelerator, so many things, right? But if you were to, let's say, summarize this for upcoming projects, or somebody who is actually genuinely building something good for Web3, right? How do they reach out? How do they actually, even dream about getting into Binance? Are there any particular areas, tips that you would like to share with them? What should they be doing, in order to get into Binance?
Look, you're right. Getting listed on Binance has seen as the golden ticket. Not me saying that. That's been described to me. And it's a responsibility that Binance and the founding team take really seriously. And I think when our research and listings team are looking at projects or, considering listing a token, it's not just about riding trends or hype. And they are following a rigorous process, and it's focusing on like, what are the community associated with that project? What are the project fundamentals? What is the security? What is the compliance? Is it trusted? So, those are all important facets that you need to consider as a founder and as a builder to, when you're approaching your projects. And I would hope that's something you're doing anyway, beyond, just trying to get listed on Binance. But our goal will always be to protect our users and maintain the integrity of the platform. So, when you do see a project or, a token listed on Binance, it is a signal that it's probably passed, serious scrutiny. But I would still implore, like, our industry is also, one of the foundations and one of the principles I love about this industry is doing your own research. And I think that's something that everyone should do when they're looking at that. And I think even if you are looking at trends, of course, like any business, we keep a close eye on sectors, whether it be AI, whether it RWAs or gaming. And, I think what's wonderful about the team is they really want to focus on innovation that brings true utility and long-term value to the ecosystem. And it is really about like prioritizing quality over that hype and making sure that the projects that are listed align with what are the principles and ultimately in the long term serve our community well.
Yeah, so I mean, Binance listing, we have seen, so many projects listed on Binance, the price shoots up and then the price comes down. I think, again, as you rightly said, it boils down to do your own research. I mean, it's an investment at the end of the day that everyone is making, and Binance's job here is done when it makes it accessible to people. Now, but I mean, there is one category of coins, there is one category of projects that, I mean, particularly in Southeast Asia, everybody gets excited about is meme coins. This podcast cannot be finished, it's not complete without discussing about meme coins. So I would like to know your, as a marketer, as a CMO, how you think, this ideology of launching meme coins, because the adoption is phenomenal. I mean, if you see the coins like Shiba Inu Peep coin, the kind of trading volume they have, the kind of community they have, that's huge. And in a way, I mean, it is helping us to acquire new users. It is helping us to basically, get the new early user into the crypto ecosystem. So I'm really curious to know that how you see this whole meme coin frenzy.
Look, as a marketer, I see meme coins as like a powerful gateway to come into and get users to enter into, this space. And they're, it's cultural zeitgeist, they're not always about speculation. They're a direct reflection of community or internet memes, and it's about real-time relevance. And they're fun ultimately, and they're relatable, and they're environable. They're incredibly viral, and they're fun. Like, I get lots of my friends who are very hardened, investors who are like, should I be investing in this meme coin? And I'm like, do your own research. That's not for me to say. But like, as with everything, you've got to approach them with balance. Not every meme coin is built to last. As we know, and we've seen many times before in traditional finance and in digital assets, not every hype cycle is healthy. So, we always make sure that we're educating and trying to provide the right type of research to protect our users. But we also have to recognize the cultural movement behind them. It's, this incredible power that these communities have. And I think if you're not paying attention to meme coins, you probably don't understand, what makes the Web3 degen culture tick. I think for me as a marketeer, what I say to our team is, now we have to look at how we turn that attention and that spotlight into education, into responsible participation, and into longer term engagement. It can't just be about the hype. So, for me, a meme coin is that way of inviting someone in, but then getting them to really educate themselves on how to enter into the way in a responsible way.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the hype was built around Trump coin, right? As soon as the Trump coin launched, I mean, we can arguably say the most powerful person of the world launching a meme coin, right? I mean, he chose a meme coin, not some hard asset backed coin or something like that. So of course, I mean, a meme coin what itself is gaining a lot of traction. But
he is said in the beginning, but he is a president that thrives on cultural moments, so it's actually not that surprising when you think, when you break down how he leads. So
I mean, I was particularly very excited when I saw a lot of digital creators, I mean, influencers coming out with their own coins in a way to, incentivize their communities, in a way to monetize it in a better way, transparent way. And I still believe that, I mean, these kind of projects should actually be, coming up more often. But again, we hear here and there, we hear these negative news. I mean, as a part of Voice of Web3, we are trying to bring out as much positivity as possible. But I do see a power here. I do see a power transition where actually an influencer gets so much of power when they can actually build a financial instrument, build something to incentivize community. And I'm excited to see how it grows. So the creator-led coins. I mean,
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. We are, like, as I said, we're observing everything and understanding how we, and also all of this is a way to put more eyeballs and more traffic on the space. It's up to us then to make sure we're educating in the right way.
Okay. So now this is a question we got from Web3 folks when we shared your name, when we shared that you are coming on the podcast. So a lot of Web2 people are actually interested to know that. So everybody is seeing that, yes, Web3 is growing. They know the importance of the ecosystem, but they're pretty hesitant right now that should we make that transition, from Web to leaving our cozy jobs, leaving the 9 to 5 peace of mind and getting to Web3, right? So what is your advice to them? I mean, they would love to hear your thoughts on that. If somebody is transitioning from Web2 to Web3 right now.
Look, my advice to everyone, whether you want to jump into this as a full-time career, or whether you want to start hodling or trading, is to own your journey and really stay curious. I think crypto and blockchain are still evolving so fast and there's so much opportunity. So if you're someone that's open to new ideas, is passionate about this space, I would definitely encourage you to jump in and really understand how you can be part of it, because there's very few opportunities in the world where you get this moment to be part of building an industry and reshaping, what is arguably one of the most important aspects of everyone's life, which is your financial health. So, I do think it's an exciting time to join. And if people are ready for a change or really want to test it, there's very few drawbacks to doing it, because and especially given the industries that we all work on are about to be aggressively disrupted, with AI and with other emerging technologies. So being at the center of an industry like ours is kind of almost training us in, getting our muscles ready for what's next, and how things are going to evolve. I couldn't even have imagined 20 years ago some of the advancements that I have in marketing now and the tech stack I'm able to take advantage of, but that's been something that makes me better and makes our team better and makes us service our users better. So look, I think it's an exciting time. It's still super early. I would welcome, I always say I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on X, I'm on Instagram. If people want to talk about roles or hear about roles, go to Binance.com, reach out to Binance members. We're always happy to talk to people and steer them in the right direction. Attend meetups, if you're really interested. That's one thing that I think is extraordinary. There's so many of them on AMAs. They're a great way to educate yourself. And that's what I love about this industry. The knowledge in the space has been democratized and made accessible. It's not a closed circle. You can jump into this space without having to know CZ or Hoyi or one of the other founders. There's a way in. So look, I'm excited, but I would definitely encourage. But look, I think I'm in a different position. I'm definitely very, you have to do what's right for you. Back to owning your career.
Yeah. I mean, we can see the excitement, that you have. We can see your passion as well. And most of the Web3 folks, which I am seeing, which are coming from Web2, they are really passionate about this. Even I worked as a business analyst quite a few years back. And when I made it to Web3, my life has changed. It is every day being a founder. It's not the employee mindset has gone quite a long way back, because in Web3 is 24/7. You have to be looking out for yourself, for your community. And Binance has been there always, no part of for many folks. Now one question I have to ask you, because it's kind of a standard question that we have. So this is now prediction time.
Oh no!
So prediction
I'm so
time.
bad at
I know. But let's call it, that it's kind of a ritual we have that. So we kind of, we are noting down everybody, okay? And whosoever wins, we will have an amazing gift. We will send an amazing gift to you guys, whosoever wins it. So what's Rachel Conlan's prediction for Bitcoin in 2025?
Oh, I'm a bit of a maxi. So I'm a simple holder. I'm not allowed. I don't think I'm allowed to predict. I think my legal team will get angry at me if I do. But I definitely think we're going to see it stay strong and continue to gather strength. I'm not going to give predictions on actual prices because I don't think I'm allowed by my chief legal officer. But I would, yeah. But I think we're going to see positivity. But as with any industry, and I have to caveat that, there's always going to be volatility. You worked in traditional finance, like there's volatility in that. You just have to make sure that you're prepared for the bright days and the sunny days as much as you're prepared for the rainy days. And that's why, when you mentioned about MicroStrategy leveraging, MicroStrategy can do that because of the assets and the tools and the infrastructure they have. Retail users shouldn't be doing that. So I think it's all about doing it in a responsible way that suits your personal predicament and your situation.
So of course AI. I mean, I know I'm taking a lot of your time, but
not at
AI
all.
is something that we need.
So you can ask me as much as you like.
Yeah, I mean, so AI is definitely right now everywhere. It is the hype. So many updates on a daily basis we are seeing, and we are very much. I mean, but Web3 in a way we see is quite, I think, blanketed from it in a way. So do you see that people losing jobs in Web3 as well, or do you see AI actually helping us all to better Web3? I mean, where you see AI playing a role in Web3 right now? I mean, do you see it as aggressively disrupting Web3 as compared to Web2 industries?
Look, I think AI and crypto are incredibly complementary, and they're also solving very different problems. So when combined, I think that's really powerful because they can amplify the strengths of each other. So if you think about it, crypto brings transparency, it brings ownership. AI brings intelligence, it brings automation and scale. So, I'm looking at this constantly from a marketing perspective, and I can unlock use cases that weren't possible before. So I think that's what's really exciting. And I think the future way, we're in a future now, we're heading into a future where AI helps make crypto more accessible. It helps guide users, it detects risks, it helps simplify onboarding. And I think crypto also then ensures that AI systems and broader blockchain can remain open and fair. So I think these are very, important technologies that need to be managed and applied in the right way. But it's very special when they interact because it's, there's a magic that can be created. And I also want to say, look, 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I worked on IBM Watson campaign. That was when, AI was being talked about as the big future mega trend, but there was still so much questioning about it. And I saw that the potential was so enormous. And, look, I'm very lucky to live in the UAE and I get to experience firsthand how these technologies are evolving and merging together to, disrupt and optimize our lives. So, I'm very excited. I'm very bullish on AI. Do I think it's going to replace jobs? Yes. Do I think that new jobs will be created in place of those? Yes. But I think it's up to the public and private world to work together to ensure that there's a clear kind of roadmap and strategy around that. And I applaud some of the governments that are taking very forward and very proactive approaches to that. And I think it's something that we need to see more frequently.
Great. So, Rachel, we didn't get your prediction from your side, but that's fine. But
I'm sorry, I'm an exchange, so I'm being responsible. So don't judge me for it.
But coming again to the point of Bitcoin versus altcoins, as we are seeing right now, Bitcoin being of course Bitcoin has its own adoption rate when it comes to right now, because ETFs and everything is going to go there. We have seen ETFs about Ethereum as well. We are seeing Solana ETFs as well. So it's like now very crazy, I can say, that either it is about either the update is about a Bitcoin reserve or it is about a new ETF coming in the market, right? So I think how do you see a normal retail person in crypto transitioning to these things? Because what I generally see in my community particularly is that people are like 23 old, 25 26 year old. Crypto was their first investment that they did actually. And now when they see these kind of, I should say advanced investment vehicles like ETFs and reserves and these kind of things, they are mostly not unable to kind of, judge whether it is a good thing or a bad thing for, crypto or them in particularly. So I would like to know from you, that what is your advice to a normal crypto investor who actually does not know about these things? He just knows Bitcoin, he just knows Solana, and he just knows Binance.
Look, I think for most users, Bitcoin and those core kind of altcoins that you've mentioned, whether it be BNB or whether ETH, they're like the first stop. They are the entry point, and it's the name everyone knows. It feels safe for entry point. But as you start to spend more time in this space, you learn more, you build confidence, you naturally start to explore beyond, those core assets. And I think that's when altcoins come in. And, there's so many different use cases, communities, depending on what tribe you want to be part of. There can be faster gains, but with that can come more risk. So I think it's about like where you are in your learning journey, and where your trust grows, so does that curiosity. So that's where education, and why we spend 70% of our time focused on education at Binance, is because that's really important. Like platforms like Binance, we play that role of helping guide you in those transitionary moments and helping you understand what you're investing in, and not just to trace trends. So I think it's all part of a progression. You start with, with Bitcoin, you might graduate to BNB and Solana, and then it goes from there. And that's where the options for altcoins open up.
Yeah. So, but there is a sense of insecurity when I personally, as a first-time investor in crypto, hear about Wall Street doing something on the other side. I do get to know about the recent past or the historical context there is, right? So, do you really think the Wall Street involvement should actually freak out the normal crypto investors?
No, I actually think it gives credibility. I think it gives legitimacy. I think that, the reason why we've seen 80 million users come on to our platform since January 2024 is because, they recognize that if industry titans and financial leaders are investing with a wealth of knowledge and, all of the information that they have at their tips, that this is an industry that they should be entering into to diversify. So I look at it very differently. I think it's more of a credibility and legitimacy play. But again, the industries are volatile. So, to your point about managing risk, it is all about your risk profile and how you want to, apply that.
Great. Rachel, we can't thank you enough for spending your time with us today. I mean, personally, I have learned a lot, and I believe whosoever is listening to this podcast, they will really use the knowledge, the information, and of course the risk tolerance that you just talk about. That manage your risk, do your own research, right? And I believe whenever you come to India, we will be there to welcome you.
Yes, I would love that. That would be fun. I have to say, I love the culture of India. It's incredible. I think there's lots in common with Irish people, except the weather.
Yeah. We look forward to it. So thanks a lot, Rachel. Again, we will definitely make sure that this podcast, your thoughts, your opinions reach out to as many people as possible. And Binance Square is one of the mediums that we definitely use. We are one of the largest KOL accounts on Binance Square. So, I mean, thanks a lot again to the Binance team. So providing that crypto native, social media platform in a way. And we look forward to meeting you again. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, and keep in touch. Really looking forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.